Hey, it's syndicated radio talk show host, author, singer Al Cole, welcoming you to another edition of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. I come from CBS Radio. My shows are nationally syndicated, and I've helped pave the way to treating women, guys too, with the dignity that they deserve. And I do that through my show, through Apple's iTunes radio network, under their professional news talk division, airing CBS shows and shows from Fox News, NPR, BBC, C-SPAN as well. So the top talk in the country, around the world on Apple's iTunes radio network. And today, boy, I'll tell you, we have got a great guy coming up. His name is Dennis McINTYRE. Dennis was brought to me by his book publisher, and that is Link, one of the greatest cutting-edge book publishers in the country, concentrating on personal approaches to their authors. And if you want to get in the right step here with best-selling book aspirations, well, you got to run to this website, urlinkpublishing.com. And Dennis McINTYRE, our special guest, wrote a wonderful and special book. It's called Coffee Shop Ministries. Now, I know some of you are asking, Coffee Shop Ministries? Boy, Al, that sounds like out of this world. Wow, coffee shop ministry. I've never heard of that before. Well, I'll tell you, it is out of this world, and it's within this world too. Every single day, you are talking to people about, everyday things in really casual ways, and sometimes it's in a coffee shop. Sometimes it could be maybe a drive through the country, a walk through the country. Sometimes it could just be maybe at your business. You're taking a coffee break or something like that. All of a sudden, you get into a deep conversation. One thing leads to another, and you could even say you're ministering to each other because you start talking about maybe family and the kids, how the kids doing and this and that. And then after a while, you're talking about relationships, and sometimes very deep relationships in your life and maybe in that other person's life. And you're relating to each other and you say, wow, that makes sense. Wow. And this helps me. And that other person might be saying the same thing. You're helping me too to solve some problems. Maybe you're coming together closer and closer as friends. Whoa, there's an emotional bond being brought into this. And that emotional bond, that connection that you have with people is really a love connection. And that's a very natural thing in our world. We all want love in our lives. And sometimes you get it just in casual conversations, coffee shop conversations that turn out to be ministries, coffee shop ministries, even a spiritual connection to another human being. So Dennis has written this book about true stories of his experiences with spiritual and emotional connections with other human beings in this world. And you can relate, because his connections are also your connections. Might have different names, might be placed in different times and different human beings, but the underlying aspect is going to be the same. Friendship, love, and really helping other people through what we know about the realities of our lives. Whoa. So we're going to welcome Dennis on People of Distinction with Al Cole. Dennis, how are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
Yeah, let's talk about it, Dennis. This is a unique book, Coffee Shop Ministries, talking about something that is universal, something that everybody does, and casual conversations that start out that way, and then, wow, it gets deeper and deeper and deeper. So you've written something extraordinary that my listeners are really going to take to. Let's start out with, these are some of your true stories of how you've created spiritual, emotional connections with other people. Is that right?
That is correct.
And tell us how you've done that over the years. It hasn't always been in a coffee shop, but coffee shop is kind of like a metaphor here. Tell us a little bit of, maybe a little, one of these stories that you helped somebody with spiritual, emotional advice, or maybe they helped you, maybe you helped each other. Give us one of those true life stories, Dennis.
Well, you're correct about one thing. It's been many years. I used to work for a large company up in upstate New York, and to get out of the house to ensure that my family would get their showers and everything, I would leave early and go to a coffee shop just to get my thoughts together before work. and it would be a few minutes away from my workplace, but it would be away from work, and I'd have coffee, and people would come and go in 15-minute interviews while I'm there for at least an hour, getting my thoughts. And let me just start off with a story of Molly that I met probably 30 years ago. So I'll go back quite a long time. But 30 years ago, when I was going to this coffee shop, this lady came in. I didn't know her, and she was very sad. She ordered a cup of tea. Her head was down, and I just felt moved to introduce myself and see if I could help her go through whatever she's going through. And she opened up a floodgate. And Molly's husband was going blind. He was losing his job. He was going to go on medical retirement. There was a whole series of things. And she was a stay-at-home mom with 2 kids getting ready to go to college. There's a lot weighing on her mind. And she opened up all of those to me in a matter of a minute or two after I tapped her on the shoulder. Well, I saw 17 years worth of Molly come to the same coffee shop. I saw her get a job. I saw her kids graduate from college. And what I didn't realize was she started coming to that coffee shop because I was there and tapped her on the shoulder that day. I didn't know it because her doctor told her to keep going to the coffee shop. Her doctor was treating her for a depression, and that's what she was in at the time I met her. So that's kind of the trigger that caused my thought process to start writing down these stories. Yeah, Molly was something that was 17 years. I mean, I was in tears when she told me that the day that I met her was the day she had her doctor's appointment. And I saw her graduate. I saw her get a job in a hospital and work nights. And every morning after she worked, she came to that coffee shop. I didn't realize it until 17 years later that she came only to see me because I never knew her last name and I couldn't find her after I moved to Florida. So kind of a heartfelt story, but shows that we have people out there that are in need, and all we have to do is just introduce ourselves.
Boy, absolutely. You know, you're making so much sense, Dennis, in what you're talking about with Molly, the connection that you made, the way that you really helped her. And you know what? It works both ways, doesn't it, Dennis? When you're helping somebody else with some good advice, you're helping yourself too to elevate, and you're feeling good about yourself, and you're saying, wow, you know, I am serving me through serving others. That's another part of it too, isn't it, Dennis?
It certainly is. At the time, she was just a friend. It took 17 years for me to get that feeling of, wow, what have I been to her over those 17 years, and the tears in my mind, the tears that I shed after she told me, along with at least 20 other people in that coffee shop that shared that day.
Isn't that something? And that's not the only story that you have in your book with Coffee Shop Ministries. You don't have to recount every single one, but about how many stories are there in Coffee Shop Ministries along that line?
There's somewhere between 30 and 35 stories.
Look at that. And over a larger span of time, tell us a little bit about how you got started in what you're calling Coffee Shop Ministries. Was it maybe even when you were a little kid, starting out and knowing that, well, you know, if we get into a good conversation with people, we can help them? Maybe it was your mom, maybe it was your dad that encouraged you in this way, maybe it was something else in adult life that encouraged you. What encouraged you in the way that you're talking about to talk about Coffee Shop Ministries with people? And you didn't say it that way, but, you know, to relate to people in the way that you do. What is there unique about your background that way?
That's an interesting question, Al, because I grew up losing my mom when I was 3 years old, and she was the breadwinner. And my dad was a World War II veteran who was at Normandy, and when he got out of the service, he got married and had 3 boys, and he was taking care of us while my mother worked. Well, suddenly he lost not only his wife, but his ability to have an income. And so he had to get a job, and 3 boys, all within 1 year apart, were put in foster homes. And so I had to go through a series of about 6 years worth of foster homes, and the bulk of them were not good. And I think over time, I started to get the feelings of doesn't anybody love me, doesn't anybody care, built inside me. And I think when I came to a saving knowledge of my Lord Jesus Christ, I think I had a epiphany, if you will, of the fact that I was given that instruction at a young age so that I can use it at a later age.
Absolutely. And you know, that makes so much sense, Dennis. I'm going to take that and run with it. I'm going to make a little reflection of my own to my listeners. Uh, right after I put some focus on your book again, and then I'm going to make my reflection. People, I want you to order this book, Coffee Shop Ministries. Look for it on Amazon, and particularly go to this link and get connected. Link, his wonderful book publisher. Go to urlinkpublishing.com, and there are going to be so many ways you can get connected to Coffee Shop Ministries by our special guest here today on People of Distinction, Dennis McINTYRE. Now, I'm going to make this reflection, people. Dennis was talking about growing up in a foster home, losing his mom at a very young age. You would think that, whoa, boy, this is going to warp somebody. All right, you lose your mother at a young age. You grow up in a foster home or maybe a group of foster homes. What kind of life are you looking for? And that is the case in many human beings' lives. They kind of lose their directions, maybe. There's another way to see it, too. Through adversity, sometimes we grow in that personal power expression. When we suffer adversity, we understand other people who have suffered adversity, and we can reach out to them in any way, fashion, or form, and we can give them a helping hand. We can outreach to them and say, look, I understand where you're coming from because I've been there, done that in my own way as well. And it's okay if you talk about these things to me because I'm an understanding heart here. It's not even personal at that point, people. You could say it is, but it's more spiritual at that point. And you heard Dennis talk about his spiritual epiphany because he was ready for it. It was the right time for him. At some point in his adulthood, maybe in adolescence or whatever, because of some of the adversity that he's been through, he cried. He wept a tear for other people, our human family, who are going through some adversity as well. And he prayed, most likely, for the power, internal power, spiritual power, to help some of these people. You know, that is egolessness, people. That is when we're humble and we give it over to a higher self, a higher power, a spiritual power. And we say, please help me to help others. And through helping others, I'm going to help myself. And that spiritual power says, yes, you got it. And that's how Dennis proceeds. Am I on the right track there, Dennis?
You got it.
Absolutely.
You hit it on the head.
See, and that's the main thing to people of distinction. We hit it on the head with deep experiences of other human beings around the planet who can help you. And that's why I know that Dennis McINTYRE in his wonderful new book, Coffee Shop Ministries, can really help you. Let's close out this has been a wonderful interview, Dennis. Let's close it out with some possibility thinking. I like to end all of my interviews with possibility thinking in terms of what if. What if, whatever my guest was talking about, what if it came to pass in our world in those positive ways? What kind of world would that look like that it doesn't look like now? Let me put it this way. If we all followed some of the pathways that you have been talking about, that I have been talking about on this great show of yours, with Coffee House Ministries, just settling ourselves down every once in a while, giving ourselves the chance to have some time with other people, listen to their stories, and help them out with some of the adversity that they're going through, and they help us out with some of the adversity that we're going through. If we took a lot of time for that in our human society, in fact, let's say that was one of the things on the radar screen. Oh, yeah, we're born to help people. And boy, I'm taking my help time with this person, that person. Instead of maybe 8 hours of work that we're doing that we don't like, we're doing 8 hours of help work with people, and we're being repaid spiritually. And we know that. If we did that consistently in our human family relationships, what kind of world would that look like, Dennis? That it doesn't look like now.
Well, I'm sure it would be a much brighter world. There are too many people in this world going through catastrophic events in their lives, and they do not know how to deal with it. In many cases, they feel they're alone in the trying in everything that they're doing is nobody else is aware of. But I believe that we live in a world where we're never alone, and there's people out there that can help. We can be entertaining angels unaware at any time. I believe that you know, just reaching out to people is a natural thing that we should be doing, and it can only help the country and the world grow in a positive way. The depression and the things that are in this world right now, the rise in all these negative things, suicides and all this, I think is from loneliness and depression and all those things that go with it. All we have to do is reach out. Just one little reach out would sure minister to many, many people.
Absolutely. And I'm going to cap this show off, wonderful interview, with a quick reflection of my own to underscore the great reflection that Dennis just made in possibility thinking and has been making throughout the show. People, let's look at it this way. We know a phrase that we bandy about that actually is pretty good advice for this world. Try to be the very best that you can be. Okay. There's another phrase that's going to crop up in that new world that Dennis is talking about, that I'm talking about, when we reach out regularly to help other people, strangers, people that we don't even know, but we kind of feel it. Yeah, they need a helping hand. They need a friendly word. And we step in, and they're receptive. We're going to do things not just on the basis of helping ourselves to be the very best that we can be. We're going to live on the basis of helping others to be the very best that they can be. And as we do that, we're going to realize that those other people that we're helping, they are us. We all have things in common. The biggest thing that we have in common is love. We were all born to love each other, and we were all born to spread the love. And when we start doing that, we're going to realize these other people are not really strangers. They're not bad people who are going through things that are going to hurt us. No, we trust more after that because we know that we can reach out to them. They'll accept our advice. We'll accept their advice. They can reach out to us freely. And freedom is really the key to this, people. When we are free to know that the other person around the block, down the street, in another community, maybe in another country, is really our brother, really our sister, and that we can have coffee shop ministries with them in ways that are positive, in ways that cut through a lot of the other things that are getting in the way of our relationships with other human beings. Now we'll know that we are a human family, that we do have so much more in common than we have in difference, and we can help each other through love and through those coffee shop ministries that Dennis McINTYRE is talking about in his wonderful new book, Coffee Shop Ministries. And again, you can order that on Amazon.com. Look for it there and go to this website as well. And this is Dennis's publisher, urlinkpublishing.com. That's www.urlinkpublishing.com. URLink is a cutting edge book publisher, and people, you're going to love it. Make contact there if you're an author and you want to get your book off the ground. You want to have it a best selling book. If you have those aspirations, again, one more time, run to urlinkpublishing.com. Thank you so much, Dennis, for being my special guest here today on People of Distinction with Al Cole. Boy, I'll tell you, this has been just a marvelous interview, and we wish you all of the very best with your book and continue on those coffee shop ministries to help our human family. Thank you so much, Dennis.
Oh, it was great. I didn't know what to expect, and I was very well pleased.